I got confused. Um, the only thing I wanted to bring up is once again, everybody is hurting for fosters, okay? And this just isn't in Missouri, okay? This is, this is countrywide. The shelters, um, and there's help out there. You don't have to give up your animals, especially over behavior. And if the animal's sick, you might there's grants out there's public grants for personal people that are available. Um, there's other ways because what happens when you surrender a dog that you're capable of keeping, and then we get somebody that is sick and they're going into hospice or something, and we can't take their dog because we took the other dog that really didn't have to come in, and please stop telling us that if we don't take the dog, you're going to shoot them. All right, don't that's not never a good thing to say to us. All right, because what you're doing is, like you talking to Linda or Reagan or something, they're human. Okay. What is it you're trying to prove here? We're here to help. Okay. You don't have to get it all dramatic. Now, some of the people were ready to shoot them. Okay. And, but you don't have to. There's help out there. So we got to somewhere along the line, we've got to stop this trend of giving the dogs up. It's just, we're in strange times right now. Let's see if we can change that around. And I don't know the answer. I don't think anybody knows the answer. Maybe we'll stumble up on it. Maybe it's going to be a few answers combined. But you're going to be up right now, Roman. I think Roman may have an answer or a suggestion at least.
Well, I'm looking. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this upcoming disaster since all the shelters open the doors. Take the dogs, bring them home, save the
clear
dogs.
The shelters, the clear
Right?
the shelters. Yep.
In the meantime, while we got all these dogs out, there were people thinking like, "Oh, we are over the problem. Let's get more dogs." And all these people wanted to save dogs. There was a market, and because there's a market, there's an opportunity, and then all these opportunities start giving dogs out. Less expensive. Everybody wants to stay home alone. What do you do without a dog? Now the shelters are given up. There are no dogs available. The rescues kind of like have hard time transporting dogs because of COVID. Well, yes, the online guys are still on market, and then up you go. You get a dog delivered in the mail, and then you don't have training. You cannot socialize your dog. You have no educational background on the dogs, and all of a sudden the poop hits the fan. After a couple of months, 6, 7, 8 months, and then all of a sudden the behavior issues coming up. Of course, you're going to want to reach out to a professional, which is booked out for a year, right? And then here you go, and you tried everything, called everyone, watched all the videos that you could watch, and then did all the things you can do wrong. And then all of a sudden he says, I'm end of the rope. Let somebody else deal with it. And here we go. Rescue's full, shelter's full. Market is full. Nobody wants a dog. Everybody has a dog. It's unfortunately, it was predictable.
Yeah. Well, you and I talked about this early on, the first year of COVID.
Yeah.
You and I talked about that. Wow. Ain't that something?
And these problems are easily to be solved. You don't have to, as you said before, there are basic things that can happen here. Not all the dogs have to be socialized the way we think have to be socialized. Just because the dog didn't have a proper socialization, it's not the end of life.
No.
Right? We can still change it a little bit slower. The dog would not be a social butterfly. She would not be a party animal. But slowly, we have the proper tools and get the proper resources. We can work things out.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And one thing that's very important for us to recognize, and I think you have already set up the whole thing, is understanding the dog's needs at the very beginning.
Yes.
Because we have our needs, and we didn't think about the dogs having needs during COVID because it was all convenient. And all of a sudden now the dog's needs that hasn't been compliant before come to surface as behavior issues.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, what we're seeing is some of these dogs that these folks are feel that there's nothing else they can do. Well, I'll tell you, when we get them, they've really been let down because you're at the end of your rope, but the dog doesn't know that. All right. And if you Google dog training, well, there's a good possibility that there's a high probability that, well, that's not going to be what's going to meet your dog's needs, because Google has never met your dog. Okay.
No.
And so it's not on the dog, but yet the dog is getting blamed, and then ultimately loses his home, and that's hard on him. That's very hard on the dogs.
One thing that I notice is that people have a certain concept what the dog does, have a certain mindset. Oh, my dog is aggressive. How to address aggression? So they Google how to address aggression, not really knowing what exactly is going on with the dog, and they're trying to fix something wrong that isn't actually wrong.
Right.
Right? And then they call the vet and they tell them, oh, my dog is destructive. And the vet has to go with it and then prescribe medication. And the dog is actually a completely different problem. Sometimes they actually have a problem with the wrong dog. The dog is not the problem. It's the other dog who has the problem.
Absolutely.
I've seen people want to surrender the wrong dog.
And that's the first thing that we do, and when we get a call, when we assess the situation, the big picture. For one of the first things we have to do is figure out which dog we're working with. Okay, because a lot of times the dog they're calling about, well, isn't the one that was causing the problem, and then sometimes it is. So but anyway. Before we get going with the instruction manual, I want to bring it up one more time because I don't think we have any entrants yet. At least there's nobody that I've seen. Hashtag GPRM, type it into your comments, and that enters you into the drawing at the end of the show for the leash. All right. And we do a giveaway, try to every week anyway, and go from there. Now, I saw on Facebook a while back, it said the Great Pyrenees instruction book, and somebody had photoshopped a book that was like 4 foot tall and the top pages were open. That's the instruction manual for Great Pyrenees. And it's a chuckle and everything, but you know, it doesn't have to be that drastic, does it, Roman?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I haven't seen it.
The instruction book, owner's manual for the dogs. All right.
Oh, yeah.
We have something. I'm going to bring the graphic up, all right? Okay. Has anybody ever seen that? The hierarchy of the dog's needs. And Linda Michaels put this together originally and did a mighty fine job. I think you had input too, didn't you, Roman?
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
But look at it.
Even though she has translated in several languages, including Greek, I was just happy about it.
Oh, yeah. Now, one of the things I hear that people tell people to do with the Great Pyrenees is you got to be the pack leader. You got to be a strong leader. You got to be the alpha. Blah, blah, blah. Well, the hierarchy, and then I'll shut up and let you go, Roman. The hierarchy chart here tells you something different. It tells you to have benevolent leadership. That's a little bit different now, isn't it? So,
well, you know, there's a whole misconception about the alpha theory and about the pack leadership. It's so old, right? My grandfather smoked it on his pipe when we say that. Even the inventor of the dominance hierarchy, Dr. Mech, who was hired by the Department of Agriculture to study wolves in captivity, after he studies wolves in real life, said, "Man, I was wrong. I'm sorry. We had this wrong idea."
It.
Well,
they did a 180 on pack theory.
Yeah, well, the problem is that we took the linear hierarchy, the linear dominance hierarchy from the ants, projected onto the dogs, and then thought it's going to work out. It doesn't. Anyway, long story short, Linda Michaels had this fine work to do to translate hierarchy of dogs, the hierarchy of needs, into the dog concept. So we better understand, because dogs are mammals just like we are. They have emotions like we do. They have needs just like we have. And we have kind of a disconnect about dogs are just animals and we are different. We're not. And in fact, working for so long with animals and with people, I see how many common things we have. So my first thing that I do when I work with people, the first thing is you need to understand your dog's hierarchy of needs. Okay, some people don't even know their own needs. They just go with the flow. But once you see that chart, maybe you want to pull it up a little bit.
I'm going to actually do a screen share on it, Roman.
Yeah. Maybe we can put it up as a website. That may be easier, so we not disappear behind it.
What I'm getting ready to do.
And what we look for here is understand the solid foundation of that pyramid. So that pyramid is so important that it is the base of your relationship with your dog, which is including the very bottom of it is the physical needs that the dog needs, which includes food, water, air, sleep, steady home life, access to potty areas, gentle grooming, and fear-free grooming, and do not harm veterinary care. And why is it so important? We heard before, oh, my dog showed resource guarding. Why do we think is that? If all the physical needs are not met, the dog's natural response is to guard whatever he has because he's in survival mode.
Now, the hierarchy chart also. Are you saying something, Roman? Because I just lost you.
No, I wasn't saying. Okay. I was hearing shooting in the background. I was like, what happened?
Oh, at your place?
No. On an audio feedback. Okay. I don't know what it was.
Oh, I had my mic muted. I saw it flashing and I was unmuting it. Sorry.
Gotcha. And so we see if the basic biological needs are not met, the dog will go in survival mode. Now, what do we do when we get a dog? Right? We are all over his face. We're all over his personal space. We bring the dog to the vet. The vet should deal with it. Right? We don't know how the vet will handle the dog. The dog hasn't established any secure attachment with anyone in that house. So the dog basically is alien in an alien environment. And that will trigger a whole sequence of events. So if we're not fully understand the dog's biological needs, we'll not be able to help the dog. We would not be able to help the dog being adopted. We would not be able to help the dog being trained, behaviors changing, or even adopting the dog because we're gonna fail. So all these dogs that you see being in the market for adoption or a homing, most of them have not met his biological needs. And that's why I so appreciate Lila Michaels for pointing that out and make it visual so we can actually think about it. So the first part again is I need to have my dog's food. And food is not food, right? Feed, what we usually say to dogs. If that food is not healthy for the dogs and the dog doesn't feel good with it, he's going to resource guard because he's hungry, but he cannot eat the food because he doesn't feel well. It makes him hangry. And if he gets hangry, then we have resource guarding and aggression. You see these little things. Then we put the dog in a crate. We don't put water in there. All of a sudden, the dog's physical needs are not met. He's going to have separation anxiety because he feels he's being neglected in his kennel without the water. We know from other sites, in some rescues, we don't say any names, or some boarding facilities, the air quality is so bad, the dogs get sick. So not even air is there clean. The dogs cannot even sleep with lights on and barking all day long in that stress environment. At the same time, if the dog comes into our home, and we have the kids playing with the dog, and everybody comes in for a party, the dog's sleep deprivation. The dog doesn't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
And then he gets stressed, and he gets upset. He gets upset, he gets, reactive. And then we have this steady home life. So if a dog doesn't have a stable environment, being moved from one home to another, from one foster to another, that creates insecurity and insecure attachment. And that causes other problems.
Yes.
And what if the dog doesn't have even access to potty areas? And we want to potty train the dog by putting him in a crate and close the crate up for a couple of hours because the dog should train how to not pee in the house. Have you tried that with your kid? Put your kid, close him up in the bedroom and don't let him out for a couple of hours. I remember when I was a baby, 3 years old, I wasn't 100% potty trained. So we have expectations from dogs They don't even fit the dog's needs. And grooming, especially around Pyrenees, the first important part is to make the dog feel comfortable being groomed by you, right? And not hurting him and not going him, trim him down to an inch and then expect the dog to feel comfortable about it. Or we're going to a vet and there are 5 people sitting on the dog to get him a needle in. So all these things are basically guarantee for disaster, and we don't see it coming because we don't pay attention to it. So that hierarchy of needs, and you can guys get it online. You can print it out for yourself. Okay, it doesn't cost you a dime. You have to print it out, read through it, and learn it so you're not getting any surprises.
Mm-hmm.
Because after physical needs, we have emotional needs. Simple things like the dog feeling secure in his home. Like the dog is barking at the window, telling you there is a threat out there, and all you have to do on your mindset is to use a spray bottle or a shaker can to shut him up. And the reality is, all the dog wants is acknowledgement that he's not alone fighting with the devil. And sometimes just acknowledgement and says, hey, Gary, I got you. Don't worry about it. How about come here? Thank you so much for telling me that something is going on. How about you lay down and I give you something to chew on? I appreciate you for letting me know for what you were bred to do. As simple as that. So emotional needs come also together with the breed traits. So if we don't know our dog's breed traits, we'll not be able to comply to the emotional needs of the dog. So if we don't have a structure in the house and we don't give the dog the environment that he needs, that is free of punishment and free of fear and dominance that we have, the dog will not feel safe in the house, and he becomes emotionally disabled. We have an obedient dog who is emotionally disabled, unable to have a concrete thought, not knowing what to do, because we focus so much on obedience that a dog doesn't have troubleshooting skills. We call it, socialization, but we don't even know that term. We generalize. We think socialization means meeting people, as many as possible. No, socialization means meet the garbage bin. Socialization means tell me what to do when a stranger comes into the house. What is the difference between that person and that person? The dog doesn't have that logic. I mean, he has one of a 5-year-old.
If that.
Right?
If that. So that means they don't know right from wrong then, do they, if they don't know the logic?
Well, if we don't have certain rules in place and we don't have morals and ethics in place and we don't have a family code of conduct in place and we don't have rules in place and we don't have rituals in place, how would the dog know what's right or wrong? Come to my house and ask you to make your coffee. You don't know how to make the coffee because you don't know how I like my coffee. We don't communicate with each other. We don't have a family code of conduct. But we talk a lot. We expect the dog to know a lot. But we don't try to listen to the dog, so we establish a relationship. And we're not being able to actually have a conversation. Dogs have a conversation. If a dog comes to you and lets you know there's a threat out there, this is a conversation. It's not just barking. So we think dogs are stupid, but they're not.
And no, they're not. It's amazing. They're good communicators. All you have to do is listen. Just listen.
Yeah. But you know what? Having this idea of being the pack leader and everybody has to listen to you, it sounds more like a narcissist to me. Oops. Sorry, I said it.
Narcissist.
I'm not taking it back. Many people, and I was part of it, I was a narcissistic dog owner. I had certain expectations of the dog. The dog had to fulfill them, and if he didn't, then I was upset, and the dog was a bad dog. Yeah. But thank God that's a long time ago. But, I understand what people are going through because we are brainwashed in that concept. We think a Pyrenees is a guarding dog that has to guard sheeps. We got it all wrong.
Yeah.
Having breed traits of a guardian breed doesn't make you a guardian dog. Guardian dog is an evolution of knowledge and experience in your environment, understanding what the job is, then you can become a guardian. But it doesn't come automatically. Just because you're born with families that everybody's a police, in the police force, doesn't make you a police officer.
Right.
Make sense?
You got to learn the job at hand.
Right. So all the breed traits are there, but they can go in a range of right or left, up or down. It's a sliding scale. So a dog who's persistent, well, if he doesn't know what to do with it, we call it stubborn. But persistence is a job description, like a breed trait. If the dog is persistent, protecting his property, and he doesn't let go just because somebody told him to do something else. But at the same time, we want him to stop what he's doing, come back to us because we said so. There's a conflict, and then we get frustrated.
Yep.
And then number 3, for example, when it says in the hierarchy of needs, says love and belonging. So we call dogs our friends and family, right? And just because dogs are Pyrenees are guardian breeds, livestock guardian breeds, they're not part of the family. But the specialty of those dogs is to have a specific concept of family. A good guardian dog guards his family. Well, we have to educate him what the family means. It's not just the goats. It's just me and the farm and the car and everything included that we all are family. Of course, he doesn't have a relationship with the car, but if somebody comes to take the car, he knows this is not part of the family system, so that shouldn't happen. So dogs have also justice. He sees that if 2 family members interact with each other in a non-proper way, so there is aggression involved, like there is a victim and somebody who kind of victimized the other person, the dog will see that as injustice and will intervene. So we have friends coming over, playing rough with our child, that dog will go after that rough child. And we don't see it coming because we don't understand the breed traits. We blame the dog for bad behavior, yet it was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, he wasn't socialized. He didn't know what to do in that situation. We just let it happen until something wrong happened.
Right, because the parent didn't teach, so he went back to the breed traits to solve the problem.
Right, because when I work with people, I want the dog to know what to do in crisis. Crisis means I don't know what to do, so I'm referring to one I'm securely attached. And I'm giving that message, hey, I don't know what to do. Can you help me? But there's a communication established. So taking a dog in, be kind to the dog and love the dog only is not teaching the dog anything. You have this obligation of educating your dog. And we reach up to the higher levels of this pyramid where we say force-free training. Why force-free training? Because with force, only a predator functions. A predator who kills his prey uses force. Are you the prey, the predator, and your dog is the prey? This is the relationship is going to go? I don't think so. So people think because Pyrenees are big dogs and strong dogs, you have to have heavy hands. Wrong. Or you want to be the alpha. You don't even understand the concept of alpha. So let's put that aside and let's clear these things out. You don't need force to train a Pyrenees, and you don't need force to train any dog, especially Pyrenees. He wants to have you as an example. He wants to do what you do. You dig holes in your garden, you call it planting. He's going to dig holes in the garden because he does what you do. You yell at the kids, he will bark at the kids.
Yep.
The dog will recognize that you are paying attention, especially to that child, and is misbehaving. And they go up to your room and do your homework now. And the kid is like, no, I'm not doing anything. And he sees that happening. He's going to try to imitate you addressing that problem. Because dogs are not stupid. They're smart. Just like a 5-year-old. They see you shaving, he wants to shave himself too. You see him painting your nails, he wants to do that too. Not the dog, of course, but your kids, right? So we have to see that happening, and we have to see that being a possibility, and now we can act upon it. So force-free training meaning is we continuously educate the puppy without force, in form of games, in form of fun, learning. You see these dogs before they were playing with each other? They were so playful and nice. Some people will say, well, they're mouthing each other. Well, this is how they learn to survive. This is how they learn air fighting with each other in a very organized way. Tomorrow, exactly the same gestures, the same movements, they will do it to kill a wolf or a coyote because they learned it. So if you want to roughhouse with your dog, what exactly are you teaching your dog? You're teaching how to roughhouse in reality. He knows how to grab your hand and your elbow and bite your face. So keep playing roughhousing with your dog. Show him exactly what to do if he's in problem with a stranger person. And then you wonder why your dog bit someone. But
Because you
teaching,
taught him.
exactly, without knowing it, because you think roughhousing is a cool thing to do because it's a big dog, it's a big person to play with him. No,
Mhm.
you need to teach your dog that touching your teeth with your hands, it hurts. You don't want to do that. It stops the game. So the
Mhm.
dog, in worst case scenario, he will slightly touch your teeth so you feel the pain, but you're not getting hurt. So we teach the dog this escalation. What do you do if you play? What do you do if you're angry? What do you do if you want to kill? So you don't want to play a kill game with your dog, with your kids in the house or neighbors coming over. You're not having a killer dog in downtown New York. No, you have just a dog who needs to know his job, and it doesn't have to be goats and sheep. It could be just your family. So for those people who says guardian breeds have to have a job in the farm, it's ridiculous,
It is.
right? You can give the dog a proper job in your home that is matching to the dog's needs. But do
Mhm.
you know the needs? We don't, because we make this assumption. White, cute, fluffy dog, he just behaves like every other pet. No, pet is not a breed trade.
No.
And then
No.
we have to see also the cognitive needs, because especially Pyrenees, they want to be perfect on their job. Like no other breed that I know, and I work with a lot of breeds. I work with Mastiffs, Bull Mastiff, Cane Corso, Presa Canarios, all these guardian breeds that we know of. Most of them are herding breeds in the prehistory. We see that these dogs are so smart. They want troubleshooting skills. They want to learn. They want to be better. They want to be part of the family. The reason they're in the family is because they want to have a function in the family. So if you don't teach them the function of your family, they will not be happy. So Maslow, who is the inventor of that pyramid, called it self-actualization. But what does it mean to a dog? It means the dog should have morals and ethic and problem-solving skills and creativity. How would I hold my bone? Do I hold my bone just with my teeth? Oh, my friend can hold the bone. I teach my dog creativity. I teach my dog that I can hold the bone and he can chew on it in different directions, and I can switch hands. I'm like, oh, cool, we have a nice game playing. And all of a sudden, we teach the dog that if you need my help, I'm here. I can hold the bone for you. No problem. I can hold space for you. I can hold territory for you. I can protect the house for you so you don't have to do it. Don't worry about it. Go lay down. So if you
Yeah.
don't establish that pyramid, you cannot expect the dog to let go of something he's on the job to because you don't have established that relationship yet. Who are you to tell your dog what to do? You're just a placeholder. You're not supporting your dog in any means. He has to deal with his own. All you do is putting food on the bowl. That's it. Otherwise, you're not really helpful until you recognize that pyramid and you act upon it. And then you recognize that all these things that have to happen, and the dog is like, wow, I like him. He knows exactly what I need. I don't need to worry about things. He's my best person ever.
And there's your instruction book right there on the screen.
And I don't know if you have the link, but I would highly recommend you guys get Linda's training manual, which
Oh, yeah.
I
I
recommend
don't
that you
have the
guys,
link up
even if
here.
you're trainers, use that link, get that manual, and start from page 1, go through it.
Mm.
I mean, I have a training manual for kids, like kids' language, because sometimes, the regular training books are too complex for kids. If you guys are interested, let me know.
Sometimes
Has,
regular training manuals are too complex for adults, too.
yeah, right? It's kind of too complex, but Linda's manual is really
Linda's,
simple.
I read a preview. I read some of the previews, and she puts it in terms that, well, we can understand. Okay.
Right, right.
Um, and the hierarchy right there. There's an example right there. And I tell you what, that thing is just so awesome. Some of this stuff I've been doing all these years, but I didn't know. I mean, I didn't realize the hierarchy of it, the importance of it. Okay.
Right.
Um, but the very important part is the force free, especially with your Great Pyrenees. Give them the ability to make choices while you're teaching them to make good choices, new problem solving skills. All right. They're very good
I
at
was
this.
lucky to work with the department, the Texas
Yes.
Department Juvenile Detention. I'm totally confused now. Texas Juvenile Justice Department. Now I got it right. And these kids there are young kids. Like the oldest one is like 16. We see these children have the same history of these dogs we have in the shelter.
These children are in prison.
Right? They end up because the system failed, because the family failed, because they were abandoned, because they were abused, they were this and that, and they made one mistake, and they ended up in there. We call it like bad mistakes, bad mistakes.
Bad
dog,
stuff.
right? It's a child that makes a decision because of the environmental factors, and he ends up there, has no way to get out. But what I learned was if you practice this first base, like giving that child these options, that child starts feeling safe in this unsafe environment. These children don't have a home to return, because if they return home, the whole thing will start all over again. They are not safe at home. So they only are safe if they learn how to survive themselves without hurting anyone, without, being a problem in the society that we kind of created like a mess. With dogs, the same thing. So if you don't help the dogs understand their environment they're living in, and they don't understand what we're here for to do, they will see us as enemies. Mm-hmm. And if we ask him to get off the couch, he's going to growl at us. Why? Because he thinks we're going to take over the couch and he has no place to go.
And he feels safe up there.
Right. So we don't see that coming until we educate ourselves how to approach these things. And that's where the training model comes in, explain to you why that happens, right? And even the new book is coming out with Linda in a couple of weeks. It actually has references. So it's not just blah, 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 somebody telling stories about dog training like everybody else does. It says, you know what? This is the science that we have right now. This is the knowledge that we have. And this is how you solve it. Well, I'm going also to another level, and it says, you know what? It's not just a training and a person. It's a relationship and a dog and a person. And this relationship have a solid foundation. And it's not just training, it's also relationship. But it's also not just relationship. It's also coexistence and synergistic living. So it's not just a pet. It's we're sharing our lives with a dog who we call from our ancestors man's best friend. It's the only species we call man's best friend. And I think we should be aware of that the man's best friend was a guardian breed in the very beginning. And the hunting dog, these two species were there. And from there, there's all the pets that we have right now basically evolved the last couple of 100 years. They weren't like that before. Mm-hmm. So if we are here having a chat on the internet, is because these dogs back then kept us safe from predators and wild animals and help us survive in wilderness. They help us get organized. They showed us our organization looks like in a group of 3 to 13 dogs. And so we learned from them and they learned from us, and we coexist until recently, where now they're just pets.
And they're disposables.
Right. It's kind of like having a subscription to, these online buying systems where you don't like it, you just send it back and want your money back because you don't like it. Right. Going like that.
Always remember that if you've had your dog for a while, especially from a puppy, for example, because I just had this the other day. These folks got the puppies, 8-week-old puppy is early weaned. Okay. But anyway, that's a different show. So they've had a puppy since 8 weeks old. Now the puppy's 3 years old and they don't like the way the dog's acting. You taught them their behavior. Okay. Behavior is learned. And if you inadvertently taught them to, do whatever it is they're doing, then let's show them a different way. Okay.
This is where dissociation comes in. It wasn't my fault that a dog is aggressive. I tried everything that I knew. He didn't just learn it.
They're not born that way, okay?
No.
So anyway, we're on overtime, Roman. Will you post that in the comments, the hierarchy manual?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll do it.
That way everybody can have it. Okay. This isn't a secret. This is extremely effective. basically accidentally using some of this for years, okay, with the Great Pyrenees. And then Linda came up with it in writing. I'm thinking, I looked at that and I thought, wow, because I can't put that down in writing. I have enough trouble talking.
Well,
All right.
yeah, we have all these good ideas and we do it every day, but we don't have time to write it down. And then finally, we find somebody who actually does write it down, and we appreciate that.
Yeah. And just like Kelsey over there at It's Dog or Nothing website, look at the ability she has to write it down so people can understand it. And she gets it out on her blog and her Facebook, and usually it's information about all things Great Pyrenees. So, but anyway, wow, what a show, Roman! Thanks for coming
Thanks
on.
for having me here today, even if I chime in a little bit later.
Yeah, this was awesome. Okay, hierarchy of the dog's needs. Never forget that. Because you have your own hierarchy of needs, but you see, you're able to kind of meet them yourself sometimes. Okay. Dog doesn't have that ability. He doesn't have thumbs. He can't drive to the store. Okay. So you have to help. It's, and always remember, except for Max and I can't remember the girl's name, Masha, your dog didn't call you up and say, please come get me, I promise I'll do everything you say. That's not how this went. You went and took your dog and forced him into a relationship. Okay. But and I want to use Stacy and Lance as an example. They have 10 dogs. I don't know how many of them. I know there's at least 6 of them that eat side by side in a circle with no food aggression. You saw the toys on the floor with 2 of our guests. No food aggression. Why is that? Because they feel safe. Okay. They're safe.
And if you guys have a problem with any of your dogs, don't wait until it escalates. If your dog gets in a fight with a dog, it's an already alarming system, right? You don't have to wait for a second and a third one, or maybe a vet visit to find help. It's cheaper if you do it right away. It gets more expensive if you wait too long.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are simple things like the dog is sick. Maybe it's just, go there and Steve and I can actually, with one session, we can find out what the root cause of that behavior is. And then we can go send you in the right directions. See it like a hub. You don't know where to start. We're going to tell you where to start. Start here, then you go there, and you do that. And by the way, you already improve your situation because your dog doesn't get in the fight, because you get instructions how to not let it happen. People don't think of safety measures because we deal with that every day. Like, oh yeah, I can put a baby gate on. I didn't think of that. Or I can utilize my garage temporary until I figure out what's going on with my dog. I cannot bring my dog to the vet. The vet can come to me, for example. Okay, let's do the pulling. Let's
do the drawing. Thank you, Roman, for coming on. You can go to Roman's website, holisticdogtraining.org, right?
And of course, you can share it. Don't be resource guarding of this kind of information.
Yeah, don't hoard it.
No,
don't resource guard it, and don't show your teeth if somebody wants to see it. Okay, because they might misunderstand and call you aggressive, and then send you to the shelter.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, everybody. Good luck. Here we go. And whoever wins this, I think we're gonna get back Roman. I remember. Hey, Carol. Wow. One more time you win, you can't enter anymore. You know that. Congratulations, Carol. You're hogging all the leeches.
You can do another draw for those unlucky ones.
Okay. What do we have that we're going to draw for, Roman?
This is a book for your kids. It gives you a couple of homeworks. It says Introduction to Holistic Dog Training and Caregiving. Okay, it's binded. It's fresh print. Okay. And I'm donating it to one of your winners. Okay. Of course, Carol doesn't play. You know what? Everybody, just be quick.
Yeah.
Do another round.
Hashtag GPRM. You don't have, if you've already entered, you don't have to re-enter. Okay. So wow, let's get ready to draw again. All right. I'll give you about 5 seconds. Time's up. Because we're on overtime. So we're going to draw again. And the winners, if you would be so kind as to, you just want them to send me the email, Roman, and I'll forward it to you. Wow, Judy won. and Judy
Okay.
needs it. Now she may donate it. We'll see. Judy will get a hold of me. I'll let you know, Roman. I think you've talked to Judy in the past, possibly, maybe not. But wow. Anyway, Carol, you know the routine. Send me the email with your address again. That way I can keep track of this. Okay. That way I know if you win too many times. Shoot, Nancy, she's won 3 times if I remember right. But way to
And
go, Judy.
if you didn't win it and you still want it, you can still message me, and we're gonna talk about it how you can get it.
Wow, there you go. So, Carol, congratulations. Judy, congratulations. Peer Rescue and Sanctuary. They're in Peyton, Colorado. They save a lot of dogs. They adopt a lot of dogs. They're just needed. Okay, just like any rescue, we're needed. And but congratulations. We got to hit the road here in a second. Oh, Judy just said she's keeping it. All right, she wants that. So, and I think it's very beneficial for her. All right. So, all right, everybody, we're out of here. Roman, thanks so much for coming. And we'll hopefully you can come back next week and we'll have another awesome talking point. And there could be some questions on the hierarchy too. We don't know. But you're usually here. So, all right, everybody. Bye. Bye, Roman.
Bye bye.